We will call to order the regular board meeting of the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. Good morning. My name is Marisol Hernandez. I'm the chair, and with me today is Commissioner William Cressy
Present.
and Commissioner June Brown.
Present.
Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Any proposed changes?
No.
If not, then let's proceed with the approval of the regular board meeting minutes of July 25th, 2023. Is there a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Next is the Assistant Executive Director's report because the Executive Director is out sick today.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. I am meeting weekly with the Dominion representative, and Dominion representatives are also meeting with our staff weekly in person. Our equipment is currently being certified by the State Board of Elections and is expected to be completed by the end of October 2023. I will be placing the consumable supply order this week for the upgrade and the preventative maintenance of the equipment that is scheduled to begin in the beginning of November. Last week, I participated in the kickoff call with 10X, the new e-poll book vendor, and a biweekly recruiting meeting has been scheduled with our staff. There will also be individual meetings with certain departments, which I will also be attending. The HR manager is providing leadership, department managers, and employees with current information regarding COVID, such as free test kits that can be ordered. Our COVID policy is currently being updated. And this concludes my report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? If there are none, then we will proceed with our Public Information Director, Mr. Bever. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman. Just a few updates from our regular projects, but voters started receiving their Canvas cards in the mail yesterday. I just got mine as well.
I did too.
So glad to hear that everything's ahead of schedule still, but those will start coming back our way. Registration's already planning out their processing. We'll likely start our second notice process mid-October then. So we'll have the entire Canvas process complete ahead of schedule before the end of the year.
Great.
The website, the work continues well with our vendor over at Clarity Partners. They met with our full IT team just yesterday to go over additional questions for our internal system so we can build a better voter lookup tool. We are still on track to have the new website go live by early December. Again, this includes our new online vote-by-mail application as well as our permanent roster application. We plan to push that very hard ahead of the 2024 presidential elections. We know that we're planning for an expanded vote-by-mail vote as we head into a pretty popular election. We also shared the wireframes for our new homepage with the commissioners as well as staff. I think we're getting there. I think it was very helpful to receive the thousands of responses back from Chicago voters through our own survey. It's helped guide our website vendor in creating a really much more interactive and usable and accessible homepage and website for our voters. So Matt, Lynn, and I are quite excited to continue this work through the rest of the year. And thanks to your memorandum of understanding from our last board meeting, our delivery of our historical records that have received mold remediation work takes place this Thursday. So that will, over 500 records will be transferred to Harold Washington Library this Thursday morning. I want to say thank you to our warehouse team who will be on site to lend a helping hand. But we'll make sure to share pictures as well as our social media posts. Like I've mentioned before, once those books get shelved and things are a little bit more settled, we plan to do many media events and call attention to the public's new access to these documents.
Okay.
And that ends my report.
Okay.
Couple of matters. Number one, speaking of social media, which Because of you, this agency's been very prominent on there. I noticed that we've been doing a lot of good community outreach work.
Thank you, Commissioner, for reminding me. We had a very successful National Voter Registration Day last week. Thank you very much to our community services team. We had 3 events on the same day. They were at a citizenship event organized by the Secretary of State's office, where the staff was present to register new citizens as voters. The team was also at Michelle Clark Magnet High School to demonstrate voting machines as well as register new voters ahead of the primary. Again, we're heading into a primary where 17-year-olds can vote for March as long as they'll be 18 by November. And we had one more event in Chinatown with Jane Lau in coordination with our community organizations. So I understand that there was at least over 50 new registrations, but the board had a very good presence and a lot of attention on that day on social media for National Voter Registration Day.
Just for the record, if a community organization is having an event in their community and they would like us to come out and set up a registration table or whatever, who should they contact?
They can contact Community Services directly or us. I'm a fan of sharing our CBOE at chicagoelections.gov email address for requests. But, we're getting into the season, and March 19th is a lot closer than it feels. So we welcome, additional partnered events and requests for our team to be present.
And one other matter, and it just goes to that first matter you talked about, our, what did you call it? You called it the canvas mailing?
Yes.
Okay, which most, I think, folks see it as the voter card mailer. And I just want to point out, again, for the record, that this is really part of our way of having voter roll integrity. Because these are mailed out, correct me if I'm wrong, to every registered voter, but the first mailing, we have them returned if the U.S. Postal Service cannot deliver, correct?
That's correct.
And then to those folks who it's returned, we send them a second one, which then we instruct the USPS to forward and hopefully contact the voter if they move down elsewhere so we can, verify information and then correct our voter rolls, correct?
That is correct.
And while the state law requires us to do this every 2 years, this board voluntarily does it every year.
That's right. While we are legally required every 2 years, we do take this mailing, which is now to almost 1.7 million registered voters across the city, but as a way to ensure that we have the most up-to-date registration information for voters in Chicago, to ensure they haven't moved out of the city. But when we do get those returned back to us or returned to sender, it helps registration start the process of removing voters from the rolls that have not contacted us back after that second notice is sent.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. And I'm not sure, perhaps it's more specific to Mrs. Sparrow. Regarding community services, is there a particular outreach person, or is it Audra, or is it? Okay. And then you coordinate with community service? Okay. Thank you.
Madam Commissioner, keeping in mind that we have people who work with various, community groups who I'm sure are in direct contact as well.
Right, but I would also think that all people who work within there, even the diverse groups, will want to participate together.
Absolutely.
On most things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now proceed with old business and infrastructure projects and changes in election administration, electronic poll books, and voting equipment. Mrs. Sparrow, is there anything that needs to be updated there? Okay. Legislation, Mr. Lasker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are still waiting for about another month until the veto session starts. There is, however, a committee meeting here in Chicago tomorrow for the House Ethics and Election Laws Committee. And so the board's legislative liaison has been talking with people in Springfield about what the topics are going to be. There's nothing particularly controversial or that we're interested in, but we're still planning to have either Mr. Blada or somebody from our office go there tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. If there are no further questions, we will proceed now to new business, and the first is the adoption of the board's 2024 advisory referendum guidelines. Mr. Lasker?
Again, Madam Chair and Commissioners, As you know, the board does every year, or every election cycle anyway, put out advisory referendum guidelines. There are not many changes from the last year's, except for the dates, of course. I've verified that Article 28 Article 28 of the Election Code, which governs our advisory referenda, has not been updated or amended since 2019.
Any questions? No. If not, is there a motion to adopt and publish the board's 2024 guidelines for advisory referenda?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
And seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Then we have the adoption of the board's 2024 local option referendum guidelines. Mr. Lasker.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Again, this is an annual publication by the board. These local option referenda are for voting a particular area wet or dry in relation to alcohol sales, governed by Article 9 of the Liquor Control Act of 1934. And I have verified that Article 9 has not been amended since 2020. So again, really just the dates and deadlines have been changed.
Okay. Any questions?
Just for the record, Counselor, what is the difference between a advisory referendum and a local option referendum?
In the world of referenda, there are essentially two categories. One is binding and one is advisory. Advisory referenda is just to gather public policy, just to see what people think about it without there being any actual legal effect based on the outcome. And so Article 28 of the Election Code allows for a unit of government or jurisdiction, either by petition or by resolution of the City Council or ordinance of the City Council here for the City of Chicago, can place an advisory question on the ballot. Local option falls into the other category. That's the category of binding referenda, where the outcome, the result of the referendum actually does have a legal effect. It causes something to happen. Those particular binding referenda have to be authorized specifically by a specific statute. So the Liquor Control Act is one of the many bodies of Illinois statutory law that does authorize for binding referenda. These that we call local option is regarding alcohol sales.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion to adopt and publish the board's 2024 guidelines for local option referenda?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
And seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes.
You know, Commissioners, if I can have just one more moment on that, I'm sorry, but I do get a lot of phone calls in my office about the filing of the local options, and I do want to just kind of point out for the public that might be watching this, those referendum petitions for the binding local option referenda, your petitions would be filed with the office of the city clerk. They're not actually filed with us here at the Board of Elections. If there are any objections filed against those petitions, they're heard by the circuit court. They are not heard by our electoral board. So all we ever really know is that the clerk's office will send us a ballot certification when there is a local referendum petition that's been filed and is qualified.
And also, just for the records, the guidelines that we just passed,
Yes.
those will be posted on our website, however.
Available at our front desks on paper or on the website, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is a legal services agreement with regards to McFadden versus Chicago Board of Election Commissioners. Mr. Lasker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a federal litigation employment matter. The law firm Ryder Burns has represented the board in multiple different capacities for quite a while now and has always done a very good job. So we request that they handle this case for us as first chair in the federal court.
Okay. Any questions? If not, is there a motion to ratify a legal services agreement with the law firm of Ritter Burns LLP for representation at the rate of $295 per hour in the federal court matter of McFadden versus Board of Elections, 23 CV 0748, and any appeals thereof?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
And seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item is a proposed agreement with Canon Solutions America for the leasing, maintenance, and support of a ColorWave 3600 multifunction large format printer, and Amanda Robledo, our principal clerk in procurement, will speak to that.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. The procurement office
Is requesting your consideration and approval of a sole source lease contract with Canon Solutions America, Inc. for a ColorWave 3600 wide format printer used to print maps for public distribution during the election cycle. The ColorWave 3600 wide format printer is an upgraded model to our current model, the ColorWave 500. The Canon has purchased the OSE brand and is continuing the product line. The current model runs on Windows 8, which is no longer supported by Microsoft operating system. The ColorWave 3600 runs on Windows 10, which Microsoft will now continue to support until 2029. The ColorWave wide format printer will allow the board to handle large print job demands during the election cycle. The printer also uses a form of toner called Crystal Point, which dries almost instantly versus other competitors that use inkjet that require longer drying times and could run the risk of drying out during our low election time. The printer can hold 4 rolls up to 500 feet long paper at a time, allowing more than one size of paper to quickly fulfill a variety of print orders without stopping and switching paper, which can cause delays. I've attached a sole source justification form spreadsheet for a detailed comparison. The sole source justification was submitted to the procurement office from Delilah Smith, Assistant Manager of the Registration Department, who oversees the Districts and Boundaries Division, where the ColorWave 500 printer is stationed. The procurement office reviewed the sole source justification form and detailed comparison spreadsheet and is in agreement this procurement is exempt from the bidding requirements. The procurement office confirms the appropriate steps and analysis were executed for the sole source. The procurement office recommends Canon Solutions America to be awarded a contract for a ColorWave 3600 wide format printer not to exceed $78,108. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda. Given no questions, is there a motion to approve a 60-month contract with Canon Solutions America, Inc. for the lease of a Canon ColorWave 3600 large format printer along with related maintenance and support services with a total cost that shall not exceed $78,108 over the entire term of the 5-year agreement?
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
And Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is a proposed contract renewal with CPU RX Inc. for website migration and hosting services. And we will hear from Matthew Lynn, the manager of the IT department.
Good morning,
morning.
Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. So we're getting a new website vendor. So the CPREX, they manage the security service for our web server and hosting of the web servers. So with the new websites, we have to order new servers for the new website. So the initial fees would come out to be $11,250. It's a one-time initial fee, and they have a monthly fee of $3,950 to set up the new website. So basically, their contract is time for renewal for 24 months renewal.
Okay.
Dramatic presentation. I like the thunder rolling in there.
Any questions? Okay, and we have used CPU RX, you
Yes,
said?
they have been our hosting and manage our security services for the web server for the last decade.
Okay.
And they have been really good with us, with supporting us, and every time we have a problem, we call them up and they assist us with the websites.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. There are no further questions. Is there a motion to authorize the executive director to execute a contract with CPU RX for migration, cloud hosting, and managed security services for the board's website with a one-time setup fee of $11,025 and monthly payments of $3,950 for a total cost that shall not exceed $105,825 over the 24-month term of this agreement.
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. And now we go into the legal report. Mr. Lasker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just obtained outside counsel for the pending lawsuit we've got at the moment. Thank you very much. The legal department continues to work with procurements and preparing for electoral board. Believe it or not, that's in our sights and breathing down our necks with hearings that'll begin in the mid-December. So that's where we're
What
at.
is our, what kinds of hearings will we be hearing?
In December, we'll hear objections to candidates seeking the offices of state senate, state representative, ward committee person, and that's, and Congress for congressional districts that touch Chicago.
Yeah, those are those ones that are entirely, I always forget,
The-
within the jurisdiction of the city of Chicago?
No, not entirely. Any district that touches in any amount, if it touches Chicago, we have jurisdiction over it unless, and there are a few like this, unless they span more than one county. So there are some districts that touch Chicago, suburban Cook County, and Will County, or DuPage County. Those ones are heard by the State Board of Elections because they involve more than one county.
Okay.
But for, other than that, those few exceptions, it's any district that's either all the way in Chicago or partially in Chicago.
Mhm. And the same thing applies to state rep and
Correct.
state senator?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Looking forward to it.
And and since the remapping, some of those have changed any?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We first dealt with that, though, in the 2022 elections.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item is, oh, I'm sorry, do we have anything else on?
No,
Oh,
thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Today, we have no financial report. Do we have any requests for public comment? Okay. Is there a need for executive session today, Mr. Lasker?
Not today, Madam Chair.
Not
Thank you.
today? Okay, if that's the case, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved by Commissioner Brown.
And seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Brown votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes, and we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.